offdanet is a system whereby we are able to take material that is running on our host computer, on our teacher's computer, using a web server, in this case a USB web server, which is a portable application running on my teacher's computer, and it is providing us with a web page which we are feeding out to devices, to an iPad here and to an Android tablet. Now it's possible to run this with Safari or with Chrome or with Firefox. There are a number of different ways that we can be running this on the different devices. One thing to be aware of with some of the things that we're working with, we may need pop-ups to be turned on. Now offdanet is off the internet. I have no internet connection here. If I try and go to Google, I'll just end up on a page. I'm running completely off the internet. This is designed so that students who are accessing our teachers' pages can't go wandering away to other places. The only place that they can successfully get to is the teacher's computer, and they're going to do that by logging into the Wi-Fi that is running from the teacher's computer, which is either on an access point or it's on the teacher's Wi-Fi system itself, and then they have to type in the appropriate IP address. Now mine is popping up here. This is the IP address I've got. It's displaying down the bottom here. They have to type that in, and once they've got that in their system, they are then able to have it as a favorite. So when you're setting up this system, we're going to have a standard IP address that they'll be going to. Once we've got past that original setup of getting the Wi-Fi going and finding the teacher's computer the first time, it's pretty much automatic after that. So here we have offdanet actually running, and we're going to look at the folder structure. Now we have a system here with a home page, a template home page, in which we are going to be using for the students to be able to access the different material that we want for different lessons. Most of what we're going to be working with would be PowerPoints, and I've got a group of PowerPoints sitting in here. We could also have PDFs, podcasts, and we've got some different writing systems that are working in here. I've got a response system. We'll look at all those different things in a few minutes as we go through. But first off, let's actually just have a quick look and see how this is operating. So here is a PowerPoint that's been converted by iSpring Converter. It's a PowerPoint standard presentation, linear presentation we move through, and we want the students to be able to see the same thing. So it's running on our web server, so we should be able to click on the appropriate button on the different devices and have the same thing turn up on theirs. So they're able to now work through as well in the same way that we're able to work through on our computer. So our system is designed so that we can have material presented that the teacher has created, and PowerPoints are a very simple way of doing that. Now there are a number of different buttons here. They don't actually say what is in them because we're going to change the material that's in them depending on what we're going to be presenting in any particular day. So we've just used a color code and a button number. If you wish to actually label and name these, then you'd have to continuously go back and change the names each time you change the content that's in them. But for example, I might say, well, I want you to go to button 7 today and read the PDF that's been put in there, so they can go through and have a look at the PDF that's in there. So this is my button 7. If I just come back out of this one here and we go into that same thing, reading 7, we find that we've got our PowerPoint sitting here in our iPad device as well. Now, the idea behind this is that we're going to be using a folder structure that is going to let us get, let me just pop out of here so we can see the folders again on the actual web page. We have a folder structure where I have a root directory for my web service. If we have a look at the system up here, we see I'm in my D drive, could be C drive, D drive. I'm running a web server, so I've called it server, and this is the root directory. This is where the index page is actually located. This is an index page here, and if I scroll all the way down, I find this is my actual index page that's running. Now, we were just in button 1, If I go into button 1, I'll find I have an index again here, and I have some data, and I've just got a little note here saying copy your iSpring output data into here. So when we make new material, we just copy it into one of these buttons. Button 2, we've got an index and just a data file, and within that data file are all the actual HTML files that are required by the web service to be able to run. So a very simple system. We want to be able to make it easy for us to create material and drag and drop it into this folder structure so that we can use it for the students. Now, we were looking in button 7 before, and we see we've actually got 4 pages for that, because it is actually, if we look in here, there's 4 pages worth of typed material that's come through in there. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to delete all of that material, and we'll refresh our page over there and we'll find that it's gone. It's no longer there. So if we come backwards and come back out to my main page here, if I come into this area, it's refreshed, it thinks it's still there, it's trying to remember it, but if I actually refresh and say, well, no, it's actually, there's nothing in there. Now let's put something into button 7 then. So I've got a PowerPoint here which I'm going to convert. This is a simple PowerPoint. It's actually a set of questions, true-false questions, which was originally designed to be used with Quizdom, or any other way it can be done orally. We're going to take this and put it into our system so it can display on the students' bring your own devices. And we're going to do that with a free program called iSpring Free. Now there is a version 6. If we use the version 6, we find that it looks pretty good, but it's only going to produce it as a flash file, so we don't want to use that one. We're going to use iSpring 7, the free version, and this, once you install it, will turn up as a tab within PowerPoint, and then we click on Publish. And here it's turned up. So it's got a location where it's going to put it, which is just into my Documents area. I'm going to leave that as is because I'm going to drag and drop from there. And what I've done is I've selected the mobile version, the HTML5 version. We don't want to work with the Flash version because most of our mobile devices are no longer supporting Flash, so we might as well just stick with the HTML5. So the only thing you're probably going to have to do is click on the mobile 5 from the default here, and then we click on Publish, and it then goes away and processes our information. This is a great little program. It's worked very quickly. It's produced it for me over here. I just have to allow the block content to come through, and I can preview it and have a look through. Yes, fine, that's working. We'll close that. So it's now produced my output file for me. I'm not going to save my changes there, and I now need to go and get that and put it into my button 7. Okay, here it is. It's opened up for me over here. What is in my presentations area? What is information literacy? It's produced an index file and a data file. I'm just going to grab that and drag it over to my button 7. It's sitting here in button 7 now. If I come back to my web page and click on button 7, there it is there. In the same way, if I come over here, my tablet has decided to go to sleep. Let's go and resurrect that. So button 7 and button 7, and this one's been in there already, so I'm just going to quickly do a refresh because it's remembered. And it will load up to show me that I've now got this material available for me. Here we go, we're away, and we're able to see it. So that was a very, very simple system. I was able to export material from PowerPoint, drag and drop the result from iSpring, and pop it into one of these buttons. And because I've done it as a button system, I no longer have to work on labels. I just have to tell the students, I just have to remember where we're going, saying, right, today we're going to button 7, and when they click on it, they may have to refresh to make sure they get the actual content, depending on whether they've been there today, as part of the settings of the browser, but they should be able to go straight into the material and you'll be able to watch it. So that's the system with the folder structure. Now it's exactly the same with readings. With podcasts and videos, it's slightly different. In the case of podcasts, we have a podcast HTML, and that hosts the material. and we just call the podcast audio file narration. So each of these podcasts has exactly the same title, narration MP3 and narration OGG, and each of the pages is just accessing that same material. So as it comes out from the material here, this is my podcast 1, podcast 3, in podcast 3 folder, it's going and having a look for a file called narration. Now when we want to update and change to a new narration, we make our recording and we just rename it narration and drop it into the appropriate folder. So we've worked on a very basic template folder system to be able to find our material and make it easy to update the work that the students are going to look at.